Thank you. We are open to questions now.
Questions from members of the committee? Senator Leyva.
Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. I am not familiar with the Casey, but it really strikes me to your comments about critical thinking skills. So the test does not require that. It's just fill in the blanks or fill in the bubble, basically?
Precisely.
Okay. Well, I would say that I agree with you because you're going to need critical thinking skills when and if you head off to college. So it might not be a true accurate test of what you have learned in high school. Yeah. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you students taken the Casey now?
I believe all of us have, yes.
And you've all passed, I'm sure.
Yes.
Pretty sure.
Yes.
You know, I was around when we adopted the exit exam, or at least when it first implemented. And in the assembly, they were a little concerned, the committee members, that it was too tough. And so we took that and we were told how easy it was. And it was amazing. While we were taking that test, we started off with about 12, and there's about 2 of us that ended up, myself and the chair, then Assemblymember Jackie Goldberg. And, you know, we were waiting for the results. And we both got the results about the same time, and I was getting ready to call her, and she called me. And I'm pleased to report we both passed. I edged her out by a very little bit. Not that politicians are competitive at all. You know, it was multiple guess, as we used to call it. And I would argue there was some critical thinking, because I wasn't even taught the algebra that was in there at the time, and so it is hard to assess as things have morphed. So I see your point, that standards, as they change, the test needs to change with that. And I know with Common Core, we do need to, if we're going to be teaching different standards, the test needs to be aligned to that. So thank you for your thoughtful presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Guess that's it. Anything else? We're good.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
your time.
Oh,
Dr. Pan, did you
I
have
have a question, make a
Sure.
comment. I'm a physician, and actually, in order to maintain my board certification, I have to take a 2-day test every 7 years.
yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Melinda, thank you for being from my district and representing it well.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, next group, come on up. I can see my district is well represented here today. I appreciate that.
The next group will be presenting on Common Core and NGSS integration. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable senators. My name is Jacqueline Rank, and I'm a senior at Foothill High School in Shasta County.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Olenek, and I am a junior at High Tech Los Angeles in Van Nuys, California.
Good morning. My name is Avi Clausen. I'm a senior at Windsor High School in Sonoma County.
Our group is here to discuss Common Core and Next Generation Science Standards. We looked at the implementation of the standards and noticed 2 things: a need for additional resources and a need for student voice. Based on these issues, we have cultivated 2 recommended actions. First, to pass the bill Assemblywoman Susan Bonilla will be introducing today. And second is to include a student survey at the end of the SBAC, which will evaluate the curriculum implementation.
When focusing on the integration of the Common Core standards, a root problem we discovered was the need for additional resources to properly integrate Common Core standards and to administer the Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium, also known as the SBAC. One recommended action in regards to this issue is to support the bill Assemblywoman Susan Bonilla will be introducing today, the Common Core and Next Generation Science Standards Implementation Fund Act. This bill discusses the allocation of funds, addresses the insufficient amount of technological resources in many low-income school districts, and understands that Common Core can't be fully implemented without the proper funding. This bill proposes that $1.1 billion be used to reimburse school districts for what they've already spent to implement Common Core standards. It also proposes that $900 million be used for further implementation. The bill states that the $900 million would be applied for, and the school districts who need the money the most will receive it for further integration. We, as the students on the Student Advisory Board on Legislation and Education, support Assemblywoman Susan Bonilla's proposed bill. Education is the ultimate foundation, and the kindergarten through 12th grade students that will be affected by Common Core will be the next generation and will use this education as the foundation for any field they enter. Students, being the main stakeholders in our education system, want to see an investment of this amount be made in our education. This bill is also sponsored by ACSA, the Association of California School Administrators, and the support of the additional stakeholders in our education system, along with us students, shows how beneficial this bill will be for all of the students across the state. Personally, I have observed schools that have reported internet connection problems when administering the SBAC, and districts that have needed to borrow computers and iPads from other districts just to give students the SBAC. Some districts in California are struggling to have the technology to administer the SBAC and do not have the funds to provide adequate technology training and instructional materials to implement the Common Core standards. This makes it clear that the additional funding is needed to close these holes in the implementation plan. Assemblywoman Bonilla's bill is also unique because it specifies one-time funding, because although money has already been put towards Common Core integration, it is a much larger project than many have expected, and the additional $2 billion in total is vital to the success of Common Core.
In addition to supporting the bill, we would also like to propose the implementation of a survey attached to the end of the Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium. This survey would allow for student feedback on the implementation of Common Core state standards. The students would be able to detail what teaching methods were most effective and what was lacking in their learning process. For example, the survey could ask if hands-on activities were incorporated in the classroom and whether or not these activities contributed to their mastery of the standards. An effective survey like this has been used before. The California High School Exit Exam included a student survey, and we recommend continuing the use of a survey. The survey results and Smarter Balance assessment results would then be relayed to each respective school district. The school district would compare and contrast the survey and test results to determine how to better implement the standards. For example, if the students collectively answered on the survey that there was a lack of hands-on activities and they did not score well on the Smarter Balance assessment, then the school may choose to implement a teacher training day that focused on leading hands-on activities. Because each school district would receive the survey and test results from all students in their district, this eliminates the outliers, such as students who do not test well. Sending the survey results to students and districts also aligns with Governor Brown's support for localization. With this survey, the districts are able to holistically assess the needs of their students and plan accordingly.
The reason that this proposal is necessary is because we've noticed complications in the implementation of Common Core. Students who grew up in the era before Common Core aren't used to this new thinking, and therefore the transition to Common Core has been difficult. Also, the response of students as well as the public to Common Core hasn't been entirely positive on the implementation. As a student board member for the Shasta County Office of Board of Education, I've witnessed as parents, students, teachers, and members of the community have expressed their concern for the students. However, over time, as the students and teachers adjust to the new system, SBAC scores will improve, and new curriculums will become more concrete. But for now, to facilitate a smoother transition to this curriculum, a direct communication between the district and the students is necessary to the improvement of the implementation process on a district-by-district basis, because the goal is to have a collective understanding of Common Core between the teachers, the students, and the public. This proposal also coincides with the idea of an evolving educational system to meet the changing needs of students. These two recommendations will help to smooth the integration of this innovative curriculum in California schools. This concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
Members? Have any of you taken the pilot testing that's online?
Yes.
And what was your experience with that? What were your thoughts? What's your feedback for us?
Well, when I took it last year, at the end of my junior year, it was more a test of the actual technology itself. But since we had not been exposed to the Common Core standards and the implementation of it for very long. We did struggle with it, and we did see the differences between that test and previous tests we had taken, such as the CASI and the STAR test.
Okay. Is that your experience also?
Yes, the test itself was very interesting. It was more engaging because of the wide variation of testing methods, like audible things that you had to respond to and writing essays and such. However, there were technical difficulties. Whole computer classrooms crashed and kids had to watch movies instead of taking the test. So that's why we know there is need for additional resources in school districts.
I've got a follow-up question with you. You said there was a lot of concern, and I would expect that out of Shasta County, about the testing and the whole standards. What was necessary educating the public to alleviate their fears?
We were trying to find a solution to that problem because we want everyone to understand what Common Core is about and its goal. But the solution to that is really time and people understanding that Common Core is to improve the education system and to help students to be able to think critically. So we think that if the implementation process is improved to be smoother so that students are less confused and teachers have more training and understand exactly how to implicate Common Core, then the public will begin to see as a result that the learning has improved and the test results will improve, and over time, things will resolve themselves.
I think the adults were having a problem with it because they didn't understand the questions, and if they didn't understand the questions, obviously you guys wouldn't know how to answer that. But yeah, it takes time. We recognize that. Last year, as you note in your notes, there was $1.25 billion, and your request is consistent with the governor's discretionary proposal, as I understand it. So there's different ways to accomplish this. The one that you presented, it could also be a part of budget trailer bill since it's fiscally, and we have a whole education bill in implementing the budget. So stay tuned. Exciting times ahead as we try to figure out how to test accurately for how we're teaching our new standards. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next group, please come on up.
The next group will be presenting on the role of technology. Thank you.
Good morning, esteemed senators. My name is Gina Wu, and I am a senior at Rio Americano High School in Sacramento County.
Hello, my name is Justin Sung, and I am a sophomore at Sage Hill High School in Orange County.
Hi, I'm Alex Weil. I'm a senior at Archbishop Mitty High School in Santa Clara County.
Think about the places you go to every day. Look inside any major corporation, peer into your nearest bank, or observe your local hospital. Even take a look at your own offices. And what do these places have in common? Computers. Computers are integrated everywhere. Although there are many teachers that integrate technological teachings, there is still a lack of basic computer skills being taught at California public schools. However, some California schools still teach these essential skills to benefit their students. For example, at Sarah Oaks Elementary in Sacramento, students are taught from an early age fundamental typing skills and usage of programs such as Microsoft Word. But why aren't all students in California offered equal access to these basic computer skills? In a world where technology is constantly evolving, it only makes sense that our education should mirror its progression. There is a lack of standards for basic computer skills in the California education system to supplement the growing technological industry. We have to recognize that there are still students in California who still remain computer illiterate in this technological era because they have insufficient resources at home to develop these skills. And although it seems like kids are constantly on their phones and tablets, we still need to formally learn these fundamental skills to foster the youth for our future careers. To keep up with these advancements, current and future teachers should receive training to complement technological progression. In order to increase the computer proficiency in public schools, the Student Advisory Board on Legislation in Education, a program of the California Association of Student Councils, recommends that the legislature require the Instructional Quality Commission, in conjunction with the Department of Education, to develop a proficiency curriculum in which schools will be advised to adopt. The Instructional Quality Commission would then establish a Computer Proficiency Advisory Committee in order to assist with the formation of standards for the computer proficiency curriculum. For example, kindergartners to third graders will familiarize themselves with the keyboard, finger placement, and primary computer controls. Fourth through sixth graders will learn how to write an email, use the fundamentals of Microsoft Office and Google Drive, and understand basic computer navigation. 7th and 8th graders would learn shortcut commands and familiarize themselves with library database navigation. And finally, 9th to 12th graders will attain research skills and master computer security.
Secondly, the Student Advisory Board on Legislation in Education recommends to implement teacher training programs for current teachers in the California public school system that aligns with the computer proficiency curriculum introduced by the Instructional Quality Commissioner. Because the CBEST, the Teacher Accreditation Exam, does not adequately test the skills required to competently teach computer proficiency, teacher training programs are necessary to ensure that teachers have the computer proficiency background to implement the curriculum. If teachers do not know enough to teach computer proficiency to their students in a certain grade, it will result in students all across California failing to learn the fundamentals in computer skills in each grade level. Thus, the two recommendations we urge the legislator to undertake are: 1, to emphasize computer proficiency standards within existing technological curriculum for a California public school system, and 2, to implement teacher training programs for existing teachers who are not adequately updated on computer proficiency curriculum taught in schools.
Because the ceaseless advancement of technology parallels the evolution of our society, proper integration and knowledge of technology is essential to the success of California's education system. As students advance to higher education and into future endeavors in their respective job fields, computer proficiency will be vital to their ability to perform efficiently and be competitive in each respective field. Assembly Bill 1539, which sets a computer science curriculum as part of K-12 requirement, cannot be efficiently implemented without computer proficient students. Computer proficiency curriculum is not currently in place, as AB 1539 primarily regards computer science content without highlighting the need for students to understand the basic operations of a computer. Holistically, California students are disadvantaged by their lack of computer adroitness and are at risk of falling behind competing countries and states. The future of tomorrow's leaders lies in the hands of today's mentors, emphasizing the crucial importance of adequate computer proficiency training for California's teachers. Currently, teachers in California are not adequately trained to instruct in modern-day computer curriculum, simply due to the fact that many of them aren't aware of the changes that have been made to technology since they have taken the California Basic Educational Skills Test, or CBEST. Because teachers only need to take the CBEST once, those who have taught for a longer time are less aware of the impacts that computer instruction has on our current education. In addition, should the introduction of computer proficiency curriculum be properly integrated by well-informed, competent teachers with up-to-date computer knowledge through structured and consistent trainings, California's education system will be able to reach a feasible universal standard, thus helping to narrow the broad achievement gap currently hindering California's education system. We recognize that the Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium, or SBAC, is allocating money for technology infrastructure and will provide resources needed to teach and implement the curriculum. Therefore, this recommendation will require little to no extra cost to the state. Although teacher training would incur costs, this monetary expense would draw from one-time funding, as existing teachers would only need to be trained one time. With computer technology that can create self-driving cars, phones that can converse with us, and wristwatches that double as smartphones, not allowing tomorrow's leaders to thrive because our education system is not at pace with technology's ever-growing presence is a problem that constantly plagues our generation. However, with a more streamlined computer proficiency standard throughout the state, students and teachers will be better equipped with the technical knowledge and resources to revolutionize our current education system. Thank you for your time, and I now open the floor to questions.
Senator Block?
This isn't a question. It's first of all an apology. We are called to many different meetings, often at the same time, so I'm going to have to leave shortly. But I just wanted to tell you before I go, I'm blown away by how smart you guys are. I wish that all of my colleagues in the legislature had the same quality of presentation.
Real careful right now.
Yeah, we hear from witnesses all the time at these committee meetings, and rarely have we heard as many articulate statements as we're hearing today. So even though I've got to go, and I regret I do have to, I thank you for what you're doing. It really gives me great hope that our K-12 system has the potential to do great things, and that the people in this room as future leaders have the potential to do great things for California and this country. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Pan?
Thank you. It's great to have a presenter from my own area, too. Thank you, Gina. Certainly, first of all, I thank you for your presentation, and I agree with what you're talking about in terms of we need to try to promote computer proficiency. I also, as someone who is an educator myself, I was in charge of the residency training program at UC Davis for pediatrics, and you think about the rate at which medicine has traveled, and thinking about how computers, it's actually interesting. For example, one of the examples brought up in the testimony is learning to use a computer or keyboard, but I think if you talk to a lot of folks, it's that keyboard may be going away. I mean, there's no keyboard on this. We still type a little with our thumbs on these things, but now we're moving to Siri voice activated, Microsoft design, Windows. It wasn't so successful when they tried, but, made everything a touch screen, et cetera. Technology is constantly moving forward, and I think one of the things that we need to emphasize is that what is computer or technology proficiency is going to be a moving target. I mean, not to stress my age, but when I was graduating high school, they were just trying to put in computer classes. You probably never heard of a TRS-80. Yeah. And Radio Shack's going out of business, by the way, I think, unfortunately. But that was state of the art back then. Actually, I was really excited because they actually had this mini computer where you didn't have screens, you just had dot matrix printers for each one. So whatever you typed, it would type out on that, and then would respond, it would type out. So there wasn't even a computer screen. All right, and there was a company called DEC. You probably don't know that either, right? And so, and admittedly, it's but the thing is, I mean, that's how fast it's moving. And these things haven't been around that long, right? And you talk about Google Drive, right? Back in my day, WordPerfect. Ever heard of those guys? That was the dominant word processing program. Now you're talking about Microsoft Word. Probably won't get upended anytime, immediately. But so when you're talking about what you have to teach in a computer proficiency, recognizing that you do have to give people some practical skills. That is actually going to be a moving target. And so this is certainly not going to be a one-time thing. I mean, this is something where you have to constantly update people, right? The teachers themselves, right? Even if they went through someone who's graduating, for certification right now and maybe all up to date on technology now, if we're not constantly giving them opportunities to upgrade, as well as providing them with equipment, right, in the classroom that's upgraded, then the students it's going to fall farther and farther behind. So I think you're going definitely in the right direction. I think part of it's trying to think about how do we do this more than, okay, we need to have a curriculum that everyone goes through once, because that's not, right? This is lifelong learning. This is something you're going to have to do over and over and over and over again. And actually, many of the skills you might have learned in the beginning may be skills you no longer need in 10 years is a lifetime in computers. So anyway, I again want to thank you so much for your presentation and what you're trying to do here. I certainly support it. I think that what we need to think about is how do we do this in a way so it's a constantly moving and evolving thing, because if it isn't, the technology is certainly moving and evolving very quickly, and even if we catch everyone up to this point in time, 5 years from now, that's ancient history already. And if we're not keeping people up to date, then we're just going to keep falling behind again. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Senator Leyva?
Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. I agree with you about computer technology. My question is, in high school, do you have access to computers at your high schools?
I attend a private school,
Okay.
but I have my own iPad provided by my school, and for me, it's enhanced my educational experience a lot, and that's why I feel that it's very important that every student in California has computer proficiency.
I agree. And when did you get that?
My sophomore year of high school.
Okay, and prior to that, in your education, did you have any computer training or
I did.
awareness?
I have
Okay.
always had a lot of technological presence in my education, and I really do think it's bettered it for me.
I agree. What about you two?
I attend public school, and we actually have 2 classroom sets of computer labs, and each classroom has about 30 computers.
And so is that a class that you take once when you're in high school, or do you take it each year that you're in high school?
We actually don't have like a computer proficiency class because the computer labs are used for all the classes. So for example, in bio, if I have a lab simulation online, then we would go to the computer lab to use it.
I see. Okay, very good. And you, sir?
From ever since when I was in elementary school, we've always had computers to use. Like we had a computer lab in elementary school to middle school, and then in high school, we're now able to either bring our own laptops or we are able to rent out laptops or iPads for our school.
Very good. And I agree that we need to integrate technology because we assume, oh, everybody has a smartphone, everybody knows how to use it, knows how to use a computer, but I think that is inaccurate. There are certain parts of the population that don't have access to that. And to Dr. Pan's point, Senator Pan, I think we could integrate those classrooms, and then we just keep the teachers up to date on the technology, and then they would hopefully pass it along to the students. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
You made the comment in reference to the bill last year, AB 1539, and I think that does go a way to help focus and have some systematic curriculum throughout the state. That was the purpose of that. If you're going to have this technology curriculum, then at least have it standardized. Dr. Pan swerved onto something very important because you also talk about in the notes here, particularly teachers must be expected to know the curriculum to deliver these skills. You have teachers that are retiring now that grew up before the personal computer. You know, back when I was in college, it was punch keys, right? And you had a computer that took up the size of a room, and you had to go to the university to find it, and I kid you not. And then, you know, we got a typing, and, you know, it was, wow, a keyboard attached to a computer. Imagine that, how up-to-date that is. So that's the problem with technology is we need to provide students educated and trained for the workforce as they face when they graduate, and yet it's very expensive. It's not only expensive to train the teachers in an ongoing manner because every 4 years you also need to change out the hardware pretty much because you're antiquated by then, unless you're just doing word processing. And we know that our skill sets needs are much higher than just word processing and spreadsheets, right? Although that's critical, that's foundational. So it does cost a lot of money, and you have to continually retrain teachers and continually reinvest in the technology hardware itself. One of the things that we've done in the legislature, as well as the governor, is the local control funding formula. Many of your schools are not the high poverty schools, but there's a lot more money flowing to the local schools now that we've come out of the recession and we're ramping up again on educational funding. There's a lot less direction from us on how to spend the money, a lot more ability for local school districts to make those decisions. And so it's, as you have more revenue available for discretionary spending, we hope to see more things like this be a part of it. A couple times a year, I have my superintendents come in and I talk to them about these issues. And because I've seen several of you presenters from my district, they were in my office just last week, and we were talking about this technology. And there's different ways that they're looking at it to adapt and provide the tools and the training that you need. So I know it's in the consciousness, sometimes it lags from the time we think of it to implementation. There's always a price tag that's attached to it. Are any of you involved in the hearings that take place to implement the local control funding formula? As the money comes back to your schools, they have basically a committee process for input. Are you guys involved in that at all?
I am not.
I am not.
What do you call it? The local control accountability plan.
Local control
Funding
accountability. It's implementing the local control funding formula, but it's local control.
Oh, LCAP?
Yeah, LCAP, right. So they hold hearings on that. That's where you got to be having some feedback and say, here's what, because the schools have money that's coming back. They're looking for how you implement it. You get an opportunity to organically help shape some of that. So I think that would be an excellent place. In addition, we hear you and we'll continue to work on that, but you have a voice locally as well. So I'd encourage you to do that. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, Senator.
I just want to apologize. I too have to leave, but I want to encourage all of you that are here to continue to do what you're doing, which is being advocates for something that you believe in. Don't let this be the last time in your life that you advocate for something. Continue to do that throughout your life because that's what creates change in our world. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Dr. Pan, you're going to be with me, right? You're sticking around? Okay, great. All right, rah, rah. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.